Right, two things today. We need to look at writing styles and so on, and also I want to launch the assignment because we're going to be looking at the article in the tutorials tomorrow. Hour by hour, as you come through, we'll be starting to think about how to choose a good topic that's relevant to you, will lead to a really great article that will end up being published. So here's the assessments page. This is where traditionally you will always find details of your assignments for each of your modules. We'll use that assessments folder that you can see where the finger is actually hovering over assessments. Now, if I were to convert that to what I think you will see, if I switch off editing here, you will see just those three things. At the very top is a little item, the ICS assignment part 1, the article. And then there's a couple of items that are there for you to remember the sort of things I talked to you about last week and that you were working on in the Plato system. So the assignment itself. And what we do here at the university is try to give you a fairly standard formal specification of what the assignment is about. It tells you at the very top the title, the author, the weighting towards your overall grade, which in this case is 50% of your grade for this module comes from an assignment like this, an article. And the other 50% comes from a computer-based test which will be run, I think, just after Christmas, that Wayne is organising for you. It reminds you about penalties for late submissions. So if you don't achieve that week 8, then you're going to lose marks very, very rapidly. It will also identify for you what learning outcomes are covered, so you can check back to which part of the overall module specification your different assignments are going to relate to. Now here we are. I'll make it a bit larger for you as well, if I can manage to get the size larger. Might be difficult. You'll have to go through it yourselves anyway, but I'll take you through the basics of it. We have on our computing derby.ac.uk website, we have an area where we publish electronic journals, electronic books. And this will be published eventually in the Computers for Everyone section. Like I said last week, the issue for last year is just about complete and will be posted up there as soon as possible. Then you're going to see the sort of things that we've done in the past. Now, what we're looking for is an article that you will research and then write, looking at how the changes and advances in ICT over the last 25, 30 years have impacted upon society, and you've got quite a broad definition of what you want to say as the impact on society is, and which part of society. 3 topics: how people communicate with each other, how people entertain themselves and are entertained, and also how crime is committed and how it is investigated. So there's 3 broad topics which cover all of the degree paths that you actually are undertaking here. You can choose any topic within those 3. And we'll be working on those in the tutorials over the next couple of weeks so that you can really get stuck in and start writing as soon as possible. So lots and lots of research. Start thinking about your ideas now, and then we can have an interesting discussion tomorrow during your tutorial session. It doesn't actually have to be connected to your degree. If you want to choose one of the other topics, which isn't directly related, that's great. We really don't mind. It's something that you find really, really interesting. You will be submitting it through a point in that assessment folder, which I'll be setting up shortly, which is called Turnitin. That's where we check all of your written materials to make sure that you are not copying material. And that if you do copy it, we'll find out, well, it is copied. We may not know exactly where it comes from, because Turnitin may find the same passage in lots and lots of different places, and it will just randomly choose one. That's part of that thing that Plato was teaching you last week about plagiarism. You shall not copy and paste material without providing a citation, and there's no point in copying it because it's not written carefully enough by and large to be worthwhile copying. Well, I want to know what you make of it, why that idea from that source is interesting, how it impacts upon your analysis, your argument. We will be giving you a template based around the Springer LNCS series template. I'm just finalizing it, and you will then use it, and we are going to be using it with you for most of your written assignments for the next 3 years. So you have one format that is necessary. It will do everything for you. It will have in the add-ins on the top right-hand side, it will give you the formatting styles. We'll cover that in another day. But our intention is, once we've got you used in this module, in this assignment, to using the Springer LNCS template, that's the one you're going to be using for the future, all the way through your 3 years of academic work. So you don't have to keep chopping and changing and getting lost and confused. You get expert in using one of them, and then you feel comfortable and happy. You will have to write, including the little header, the title, who you are, and so on. You will be expected to use precisely 3 pages in this LNCS format. Plus 0 lines. If you go over the line count, you will lose a significant amount of your presentation mark. The reason for this is that when I and my colleagues submit to these people like Springer or to IEEE, if we go over the page limit by as little as 1 line, we then have to start paying $50 or $100 per page. So it's a real type of situation. It's also, if you do not fill up your 3 pages of content, then there will be a much lesser deduction. But we want you to target 3 pages plus 0 minus no more than about 5 lines. And after that, you can use as many pages as you need for your list of references. It might be 1 page or it might be 2 pages. Depends how many there are that you need to justify everything that you have written about in that article. Unusually, your list of references will be in 2 separate sections. The first section is a list of all of the written sources you're using, and the second section will have the URLs and a reference to any images you decided to embed within your article. For this one assignment, or one article, I want 2 separate lists. Assessment. You will be assessed on 3 criteria. One, worth 20%, is your compliance with the template and all of the other presentational issues, including your grammar, syntax, and spelling, and things like that. Also included in there, and we'll see it in a minute, is your use of the formatting styles to get headers 1, 2, and 3, the section headers, the subsection headers, and so on, to make sure you're doing that right, that you formatted the title and your name and URL, the abstract and the keywords, to make sure you formatted those correctly. Because again, when I and my colleagues submit papers for journal articles, for conferences and so on, if we haven't done that, those bits correctly, they get bounced back, rejected. And also, when you get out into the big wide world in 3 or 4 years for that job you're aiming for, you will have to use provided templates for many of your jobs. It will not be an arguable, I don't know how to use it, or I don't like that template. It's, you will use it, guys. These templates are there to provide a house standard of professionalism in your jobs you're going to go out to. And when in your second, third year, when you have your placement year, it is quite likely that many of you are going to have to deal with templates in your written work, in Word, or whatever else. So it's important to get used to dealing with some of these unarguable things you have to learn how to do. The second part of the criteria, the marks worth 40%, is to do with the context and how you build up the introduction and catch the interest of the article, of the audience. One of the skills that is really, really important to develop very, very quickly is how do I persuade my readers that it's worth their time struggling through the next 3 or 6 or 10 pages that I'm trying to give them. When you get out into the business world, the first thing you've got to learn to do is to catch the attention of the managers you're writing your report for. That little abstract or that introduction has got to be punchy and grab their attention, grab their interest. It needs to tell them what the answer is as well. So we're looking for introductions, and when you need to write an abstract, we need a content-based introduction abstract. These are the ideas, this is the analysis, this is the conclusion. Senior managers want to have the key information on that front page of a memo, of a report, in about that much. Not 4 pages. They will not read 4 pages. They will not turn the page over to see what's on the next page. So the context is how quickly do you grab my attention or Wayne's attention or whoever else is marking that this is a really fun, interesting, valuable piece of writing. And then the third section is a real content, again worth 40%. And we'll be looking at various things, and you'll see those in a minute in the actual detailed criteria. But it's how you take the question you set yourself and then analysed it within the context you set, and where have you got to? What's the answer, and how did you get to that answer? How persuasive were you? Have you really caught my attention and kept my attention through all 3 of those pages, which work out at roughly 1,600 words, as it happens. Now, as I mentioned last week, we are absolutely determined that you are going to, through the whole of your academic career, use citations as evidence of where you got those ideas from, where you got those facts from, where you found those things that you're asserting are true or not true. We are determined that you are going to have a set of bibliography, or big bibliography, of all of those sources. Allow us to see where you got the ideas and quickly judge the quality and reliability of those.
You said said the assessment had to be 3 pages long.
Yeah.
Does that include a bibliography or not?
It said not. It said that includes the content that you will have 1 or more pages as necessary outside of that 3-page limit for your bibliography.
Right.
Now, this is a slight difference from academic publications and journals who say 6 pages for everything.
Right.
So I want you to have 3 pages for the content plus 1 or 2 pages or whatever's necessary for the references. Good question. Clarify. So we will be capping your grade, however brilliant the analysis is in terms of 40% and 40% for context and content, if there are no citations and no references, then the maximum grade you can get or score you can get is 35%. Of course, if you haven't got enough, and we'll see in a minute, citations and references, well, you'll lose a much smaller proportion of the grade as part of the presentation. So we're looking across the 3 parameters, presentation, context, and content. Through those, we will form a judgment as to how well supported your analysis and argument and conclusions are with the citations and references you give us. More about that as we go along through the series of talks and the tutorials about how many citations or references do you need to put in there. And we'll develop that theme over the next 2 or 3 weeks. There is also at the back end, or there will be at the back end of the template, a grid where you can self-assess yourself against the criteria I'm about to show you. You will be getting a lot of formative feedback. That is feedback that says, okay, here's some helpful ideas. This is where you're at the moment against those criteria, perhaps. This is what you might like to think about in order to get a better grade. I will also be working with you individually over the next 6 weeks to help you. You can show me where you've got to. We can have a very quick discussion in the tutorials, and I will be able to help you develop a better and better quality of writing and a better and better quality of articles so you get the highest possible grade that you want to aim for. So, there will be a template which will allow you to have 3 pages for the article, 1 or more pages for the bibliography, and then 2 or however many pages is necessary for the self-assessment grid.